Hello guys, and welcome back to my channel. Let's get started on this 37. First of all, this is going to be the disassembly, guys. I'm going to disassemble the fenders, the lights, running boards, so that I can get started. Let me give you a little bit of a backstory on this car. This car has been in bare metal for about 3 years, maybe a little bit more, but the customer has been putting motor oil on the entire body. Okay, so I'm gonna have to clean that up. I'm gonna show you how to do that in order to get the body nice and clean so that I can start sanding and applying the primer. You cannot work with any grease or anything on the bare metal. So I'm going to show you that. Let's get started. Let me start disassembling. First of all, I'm going to remove the running boards. It's got a couple of screws on the bottom. Everything has been unbolted, so the running boards are ready to come off. There it is. Now, once this is off, you can start unbolting the bottom of the fenders. It's got a couple of screws all the way around. The good thing about this is that whoever prepared or whoever stripped this car down, whoever fixed all the dents and everything, they put brand new hardware. So all these bolts and everything, they're brand new. So I'm not gonna have trouble disassembling anything. So let's just get started and start with the back fenders. Once removing the tire, you are able to get to all the bolts. And there it is. That's the back fender. Now these seals he bought brand new. I'm gonna replace them so these can go to the trash. Now all of this in here is gonna get cleaned up. It's gonna get painted also. Let me start disassembling the other 3 fenders and finish it up. Alright, this is the inside of the fender. All of this is oil, so I'm gonna have to clean everything up. The inside's gonna get painted also. I'm gonna have to resand it. I'm gonna have to sand it down, clean it up, and paint it also. So everything's gonna get painted. Guys, another advice I have for you is label everything where you took them off. Okay, label it up, put all the screws or bolts there, and just save it. That way when you're gonna reinstall this, you're gonna know where all of these bolts go back. So just label everything up. You won't have any problems putting this car back together or putting any car back together. There it is. All the 4 fenders are off. So now I'm going to start prepping the fenders, cleaning them up so that I can start primering it, because I need to get this bare metal into primer already. Okay, I'm going to start by degreasing the fender. I'm going to be using this. Okay, so I'm going to apply it, then rinse it off. Then I'll come back and I'll show you what else I need to do. After rinsing it off, I'm gonna get myself a microfiber towel and wipe it all down. Now, get yourself another clean microfiber towel, and you're gonna use acetone. Acetone is a real nice cleaner for metal. This is gonna be your friend right now. So let me just put some acetone on the rag, wipe it all down. It'll be clean to start sanding. That is it. It's cleaned. Now I can start sanding. I'm going to start sanding with 80 grit. Just scratch everything up so that I can start applying that primer. I'm going to show you what primer I'm going to be applying. Once everything has been sanded, get yourself another microfiber towel, clean, wipe it down with some acetone, and you'll be ready to apply the self-etching primer. And that is it, guys. That is how you prepare the bare metal in order to start applying the primer. And this is the primer I'm going to be using on this car, guys. This epoxy primer. It's a real good primer. It's an anti-corrosion primer, so you won't have any problems with this sheet metal rusting anymore. Okay, so now they're nice, they're clean, surface is perfect. The epoxy primer that I'm going to be using is going to be this. This is mixed 1-to-1. So this kit right here makes 2 gallons of epoxy primer. Okay, I'm going to show you how to mix it. I'm going to be using the P500 paint gun from Eastwood. Let's just get started, see how that gun performs, and start applying the epoxy primer. Okay, this primer is mixed 1-to-1. I already poured one part of the primer all the way to the 5. Now the activator, I'm going to go all the way to the 5 over here. That's going to make me 1-to-1, and just pour it on the gun and start applying it. This is the first coat of that primer. Now I'm gonna let it set for about 10 to 15 minutes, and I'm gonna come back and apply another wet coat of primer, and that'll be it. That'll be it. That's all it needs for me to sand it down so that I can start applying some paint to it. But all in all, it's looking real good. And there it is. Those are 2 full wet coats of the epoxy primer. Now I'm gonna let it set for a couple of days before I start sanding them. But if you don't want to sand them, you can use it as a sealer also. Right here, once it's like this, you can just wait 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and you can start applying your top coat. That's a good thing about that epoxy primer. You can start applying the top coat. I'm not gonna do that. I want to sand them down just to make sure that everything's correct. But that's the way you use this this primer slash sealer. It's real good with corrosion. You're not gonna have any corrosion coming up. It's real strong. It's a real good material. It's a real good material. I do recommend them. Now, a lot of people have been asking, what color am I gonna paint this car? The owner wants it original, the original color. I'm not gonna go with any candies or any metal flake or anything. It's gonna go the original. This is gonna be the color. Okay? It's like a brownish semi-gloss finish. That's what's gonna be on this car. Okay, the entire car is gonna be painted in this color, inside and out. So the inside of the fenders, I'm gonna show you what I'm gonna be doing. The front fenders had already been sprayed with some black primer, I think, but when I started cleaning it with some acetone, this black paint was coming off. So that's not good. I need to sand it down and respray it. I'm probably gonna use some Pour 15. I'm gonna show you how to do that. Pour 15 is a real good undercoating that you can have it glossy, you can have it matte. I'm probably gonna get that matte finish so that it goes with the factory finish. But this is it. This is the way I'm gonna start this this build. I'm gonna show you how to sand it also, and we'll go from there. I'm gonna start removing the doors so that I can prepare them for the primer. Let's open it up and start taking the bolts off. This door is real easy to come off. It's got 6 bolts. I already took one, but let me just take it off and go put it in the stand so I can start sanding it. There it is. That's the way you remove the door. It's real simple. Let me just put it in the stand so I can start sanding. Alright, I'm already removing the surface rust from the fender, the back fender. I'm going to start with the door also, but first I'm going to have to clean it up and degrease it and before I start sanding. already finished the fender. I'm with the door right now. I'm going to be sanding the inside of the door. The inside of the door is also going to get painted. So I'm removing the black paint that it has because it has some rust underneath, and I don't take shortcuts. I'm going to sand it down completely, paint the inside. This in here is not going to get painted. This is not that bad. I'm just going to put some Pour 15 on there, and I think that's what it has right now, but I'm just going to give it another layer just to make sure it's protected. Let me continue sanding. I'm sanding with 80 grit. All the interior of the door has been sanded already. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to clean the grease from the exterior and start sanding that one to prep it up for the primer. The door has been rinsed off with clean water, and it's already degreased, so I'm just gonna let it dry so I can start sanding it. There it is. All the surface rust came off. So I've noticed that there's a seam right here all the way across. There's a I believe they put this portion of the bottom of the door brand new, so I can see a seam right there that if I pass my hand through, I can feel a little bit of a wavy. Right there, you can see some hammer marks also. Oh, well, hopefully the camera's picking it up, but I'm going to put the epoxy primer after that. After it's dried up, I'm going to come back and put some direct to metal primer, which will be a high build primer, so that I can block this area right here. I'm going to be showing that too. Everything else is perfect. There's nothing wrong with the door. So let me just clean it up and have it ready for primer. Let me take you to the how to mix the primer. Okay, so I'm going to start applying the epoxy primer. I got the door, the right hand side door, the back two fenders, and some miscellaneous parts. So the epoxy primer I'm going to be using is from Eurochem right there. And I also cleaned the entire parts with acetone. This is all that came out, so it's real good. It's a real good cleaner. I do recommend it to use it in bare metal. All right, so let me show you how to mix the epoxy primer and start spraying. Right, guys. First of all you got to do is mix it up thoroughly, because this is a real thick primer. So just mix it up before you start putting it inside the mixing cup. So let me just stir it for a little bit and put it in the cup. Alright guys, this is mixed 1-to-1, which in my cup, if I go to my cup, I find 1-to-1. So I'm going to put all the way to the 5, which is 1 part, and with the activator, I'm going to go all the way to the 5 also. That's going to make it 1-to-1. Okay, so let me pour the primer in here first, and then I'll show you when I'm mixing in the activator. There it is. It shows that I passed a little bit, but I did not in reality. When I put down the cup, it kind of went up, but it's on the 5. So I'm going to start mixing in the activator. I'm going to go all the way to the 5. Now all you got to do is mix it up thoroughly. This activator has to go and be mixed real good, guys. So just mix it up until everything's gray, and you're good to put in the gun. The gun I'm going to be using is a SATA. This is a SATA Jet 4000 with a 1.7 tip. This is a gun that I fixed. That I fixed. I don't know if you remember that video that I disassembled one gun to make one. This is a gun So I'm going to use this one. All right, after applying the 3 coats, immediately clean your gun, guys. This epoxy primer will destroy your gun if you don't clean it. So just apply some lacquer thinner, rinse it off, and clean it up. You'll be good. And there it is. There it is. The epoxy primer has been applied inside and out. So let me just let it dry for a couple of days and continue with the rest of the parts. Guys, the reason I'm doing this, the reason I'm applying the epoxy primer instead of the direct to metal primer is that I'm not going to do the body work, or I'm not going to do body work on this right now. I need to get the entire car, the 37, in epoxy primer. I need to get it in primer. So what I'm doing it in pieces so that I can get the inside, the outside, sand it down and everything. That's the reason I'm doing it like this, because it's going to stay like this for a while. Not a lot of time, but it's going to stay like this for a little bit until I finish the entire car in epoxy primer. Then I can come back and start fixing what I need to fix. But the car will be protected already. That's the reason I'm doing it this way. Okay, so that's one of the ways you can do it, and it works. It works perfectly. Let's start by addressing the primers that can be used for bare metal. There's 3 things that you can use: epoxy primer, self-etching primer, and direct to metal primer. First, let's talk about the differences between the epoxy primer and the self-etching primer, and the reason that I'm using epoxy primer in this car. One of the reasons is that on the epoxy primer, you can apply body filler on top of it. It'll work perfectly. Now, on the self-etching primer, you cannot. You cannot apply body filler on top of the self-etching primer. It's not going to work. But it will work for the epoxy primer. Now, the other primer that you can use on bare metal is going to be the DTM primer, which is this one, high build primer. The reason I'm not using it in this car right now, I am going to use it, but the reason I'm not using it right now is because I want this to go on top of my body filler. Whenever I do body work in this car, most of the panels are straight, but there's little imperfections here and there that I'm going to have to use it. I'm going to have to use body filler and apply some high build primer. That's what I'm going to be using this for. That's one of the reasons that I preferred going with the epoxy primer. Now, you can use this one directly and eliminate that step. The thing is that I prefer to seal the whole car first, work on my body, do my body work, because it's not a lot, and I'll just use this on the parts that I need, that I made some body work. That's the only reason. I don't want to apply this entire batch to the entire car if it's not needed. Okay. Another question is that a lot of people think the epoxy primer will clog up your sandpaper. If you do it the right way, and if you do it the way I'm going to show you in upcoming videos, you're going to see that the epoxy primer can be sanded. It can be sanded. It is a sandable primer. It's a little harder to sand, but it is sandable. And I'm going to show you the way to do it without you getting a lot of clogging up on your sandpaper. That's going to be coming soon also, because I need to start sanding these so that I can start applying some paint to them. Once I sand it, I still need to apply some sealer to it. Okay, you can paint over this, but if you do it the same time, the same day, okay, wait 15-20 minutes and you can apply your paint. But if you don't, if you're doing it like I'm doing it, where I'm waiting a week, maybe 2, you need to sand it. You need to sand it, apply another layer of sealer, then you can start applying your paint. But those are the primers, and that's the reason that I'm using it. This car needs to get sealed because of the surface rust that is being created already. This car has been without paint for about 3 years, and it's time. It's time for this car to get its epoxy primer and paint. Now, regarding the self-etching primer, I usually just use it when there's little pieces of metal showing. I'll just get one of those rattle cans self-etching primer, apply it, and go from there. Apply my primer on top of it. But that's basically what I use the self-etching primer for. Is just little spots that I went through the paint and use it that way. I usually don't use it on the full interior, on the full overall paint job like this one. I wouldn't use the self-etching primer. I would recommend you using the epoxy primer. It's a lot easier. It's a lot better. Now, the other reason I'm using the epoxy primer is that when you apply it, you can see it has a real light shine to it, and you can see the dents. I don't know if you're able to see that one right there, but that's another reason that I use this type when it's bare metal. Because remember when I told you that whenever you have a car, it's best for you to fix the dents first before starting to sand the car. Now, this one does not have any paint on it, so it's hard for me to locate where the little dents are at. And this is going to help me a lot to identify all the little dents that this car might have. So just wrapping it up, the epoxy primer, it's used for bare metal. Okay, it's basically, that's what it's for. You can use this one as a sealer also. If you have already sanded the entire car and you want some sort of a primer, this one has a real good adhesion to it, so you can use it as a sealer before applying your paint. So this one's a real good quality. I'll leave all the information below where you can get it. But the epoxy primer is for bare metal and can be also used as a sealer. Now, the direct to metal primer, direct to metal, it tells you right there. You can apply it directly to the metal. You can do your body work and apply direct to metal on top of your body work and just block it off. And you can use this one as well. Perfect. It'll work perfectly. Now, the self-etching primer. The self-etching primer is just for bare metal. You cannot paint anything. You cannot seal. You cannot apply a sealer or anything on top of just the metal. So the self-etching primer is for you to apply it and just seal it, and you can start applying your paint on top of it. And that's it. Those are the basic primers that you can use whenever it's in bare metal. And you choose whichever one you might think it's better for you. All right. I'm going to show you how to use the cup. I've had a lot of emails stating that why am I saying that I'm mixing 1:1 and I'm adding 4:4. I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to show you what these numbers mean. Okay, let's get started. All right, guys. The cup has a lot of different measurements that can be used, but the product, when you buy the product's going to have a specific measurement. This one indicates it's 1:1. Okay, what this means, I'm going to have to look for the 1:1 right there, and what it means is that I'm going to be using this 2 lines. Now, these numbers down here, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that only indicates the amount of product that I'm using. If you don't need to do it all the way to the 5 and you only need this much amount, just do it to there. So you go to the 2, let's say you just need that much amount, go to the 2, that's going to be 1 right there. That's going to be one product. The second product, go to the other 1 and just go all the way to the 2. That's going to be the second product. And that's exactly how you mix it. These numbers only indicate the amount of product that you're going to use. That is it. The most important numbers are the top numbers. Okay, now if you see 1.5, 70%, 10%, that's some products indicate that you need, let's say, 2 to 1 and 10% more. Okay, you look for the 2 to 1, that's 10% right there, and you just use the amount of product that you're going to use, and just follow that. The cup is simple and it's self-explanatory as to how to use it. Let me pour some the epoxy sealer for that hood and some activator, and I'll show you exactly what I'm gonna do. I don't need all the way to the 5. I'm probably just gonna need all the way to the 3, and I'm gonna go all the way to the 3. That's the amount of product that I'm gonna use, but I'm still gonna be in the 1-to-1 area. Okay, let me mix it up so you can see. Right here, you saw I went all the way to the 4. That's the amount of product that I'm going to use. Now, I'm going to get the activator, and I'm going to go all the way to the 4 in the same line. It's going to be in the line of the 1. Okay? Remember, this is just the volume of product that you're using. But the mixture is going to be on the top. So let me go all the way to the 4 with the activator. There it is, all the way to the 4. Now, I just got to stir it up, put it in the cup, and we're good to start spraying. There it is, guys. That's the actual hood. This is how it came out. Came out real nice. So this is ready. All I need to do is just sand it down. I can apply some sealer and start applying the paint for this. I've been applying epoxy primer on the car, and I've been getting a lot of emails saying how come I'm not using direct to metal. The reason I'm not doing it, I explained it in a couple of videos, but I'm gonna show you how to apply the DTM primer on this the trunk of the car, so that I can show you different applications that you can use when it's bare metal. And the primer I'm gonna be using, it's Real Flex High Solids DTM primer. I'm also gonna be using the Black Widow with a 1.7 tip for that DTM primer. First of all, I already sanded it down. It's to bare metal. The customer wants this trunk painted inside and out, so I had to clean both sides. Also, I already cleaned it with acetone, so the bare metal, it's perfect. It's ready to go. So let me just mix the primer, start applying it. This primer is mixed 4-to-1. So let's just get the cup, find the 4-to-1, start mixing. All right, I already got the amount of primer I'm gonna use. I'm gonna start adding the hardener. It's very important to mix the primer thoroughly before you add it into the gun, so that the hardener goes all the way through, mixes perfectly. And there it is, the direct to metal primer. I applied 3 coats. I just showed you 1 and 2, but I applied 3 coats, 3 full wet coats, and I'll show you how it sands once it dries up. I'm gonna make a video as to how to sand it. But yeah, this is the DTM primer. So there's several ways that you can do it. You can use this, the DTM primer, direct to metal, or the epoxy primer. It all depends on your preference. It's time to get the primer, the DTM primer, to this body, and everything has been cleaned with acetone. All the surface rust has been removed. So underneath, right here, I am going to prime it, but not right now. I just need to get the entire body into primer right now. So let's do that. Let me show you the primer I'm going to be using. The primer I'm going to be using is from Real Flex. It's 4:1. I already got 4 parts right there, 4:1. And it's DTM, direct to metal. Let's just get started, start applying it. The gun I'm going to be using, it's the Black Widow 1.7 tip HVOP. So let me just mix this primer up, pour it in the gun, and start applying it. And after 3 coats of DTM primer, that's it. We got it. So next, I'm gonna clean this up, put some DTM primer on that. Also, what I'm missing is this, the front end. Some parts that's gonna have a DTM primer also, but like I mentioned, this was a real big area, and I needed to get that covered because every time I was sanding it down, waiting a day or two, it started creating some surface rust, and that's what I didn't want. So these things right here are a little bit smaller. It's no problem. I'll take care of that. But that is it. This is how the DTM primer works. All I got to do is wait a couple of days, put some guide coat, start blocking it. We're getting one step closer to painting the car. What I'm going to paint first is actually the body. This body, I'm going to be painting it first. That way when I have the doors painted, I can just put them back on, the trunk, put it back on, and so forth. I don't have everything just scattered around. So I'm going to have to paint the body first. So that's what's coming up next, guys. I'm going to show you how to block sand everything and get a perfect finish so that your paint job can be as perfect as possible. I'm just going to use a regular matte black and just spray it up. This is going to be my guide coat. It's real easy to come off. You don't have any trouble. Now there's other types of guide coats you can use. If you have those, hey, by all means go ahead and use them. But I'll be using this, and I'll show you right now as to how I'm going to start sanding it. All you're trying to do is just mist it on. Don't paint the car. Just mist the matte black, and you'll be good. Okay, that's all I'm doing. I'm just misting it on. Now that all the guide coat has been applied, I'm just gonna wait for about an hour, maybe an hour and a half, for this matte coat to dry, and I can start blocking. After the guide coat has dried, I'm gonna start sanding. I'm gonna be using these blocks. So all I'm gonna be doing, sanding off the guide coat in a cross pattern motion. As soon as you see the guide coat gone, that's it. You're good to go. Let me show you. I'm gonna start sanding with 180 grit sandpaper. So let's just get started. I still have some guide coat that's showing. So as soon as the guide coat is gone, I stop. I just continue until everything that I applied the primer to is completely blocked. So let me just continue so that this area right here can be as smooth as possible. Right there, guys, you can see that there's kind of like a little dent here. Hopefully the amount of primer that I applied is enough to cover it up, but I still have that guide coat there. So that until this eliminates, now I know that it's flat. So let me just continue sanding. All right, guys, I finished the blocking on the top. You can still see some dents a little bit, so I'm gonna put some putty onto those. Now these are the metal that came through, so I'm just gonna put some self-edging primer. But my biggest thing that I'm gonna show you, my secret to getting the perfect blocking job, let me show you. And it's gonna be the quick check. So this thing, once you spray it on, it'll leave the surface extremely glossy, which will tell you if your sanding job is perfect. Okay, let me demonstrate. Right there. Now you can see your job by looking through the side, and you know that this sanding job is perfect. And that's the way you use it. Now just get yourself a microfiber towel, wipe it off, and it's not going to bother anything, even if you apply your sealer right after this. But that's the way you use this. You can see that my sanding job is perfect. Okay, and that is it, guys. That's how you block the primer. Now I'm going to finish blocking the entire car, get it ready for paint. Alright guys, 98% of this body of the car has been blocked off. Everything's nice and even. Everything's the way it's supposed to be. Now, once everything has been blocked off, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna get myself the DA right here with an interface pad. Okay, and get myself 220 grit sandpaper. I'm gonna go over the entire car again with the DA in a low speed setting. It's kind of like a medium low. Go over the entire car with it. Then after the 220, do it again with 320 and 400. Yes, you're gonna say that's a lot of sanding. Yes, but that's the way I've done it, and I've gotten perfect results. So I'm just teaching you the way I'm doing it, the way I do it. Okay, so that's what I'm gonna be doing next. And that's the way I do it in order to block the car. Right now it's, I believe it's like 36 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's turned on this little chimney type of thing. So hopefully this will work. Guys, in this video I'm not going to talk that much. It is cold. I'm just going to show you more or less as to what I'm doing. And hope you enjoy it. I'm grinding everything off that's gonna get painted. I gotta get this car ready for this coming weekend. Hopefully the weather's not that bad. I have a little fire pit that I have. It's still cold, but not that much, so I'm gonna continue working on the car. And there it is, guys. Everything has been sanded. Now I'm gonna have to wait for to apply the primer, but At least this is sanded down and ready to go. Covered up, that's not going to get painted, so we're ready. First of all, I'm going to start applying some epoxy primer sealer. I'm going to use this as a sealer for right now because I do have some bare metal showing, and this is going to be covering the bare metal and giving me an overall same finish for the whole car. I don't want any different kind of patches or any different kind of colors, but I do have some bare metal showing, so that's going to help me with that. All right, so let me start applying this, and let's just get started. The gun I'm going to be using is my Welcome Carbonio 360 Light. I'm going to be using that with a 1.3 tip. All right. Also, a lot of people have been telling me what kind of air system setup or extraction I'm using. This is what I'm using, guys. I'm using 2 fans which extract the air tremendously fast. So this is what I'm using. It's been working, so I'm just going to keep it. I'm just going to keep it this way, but this is what I'm using right there. I'll leave all the information as to where I got these in the description, so you can go ahead and take a look as to how much they are and where I got them from. The sealer has been applied. You only need 1 coat. That's it. So now I'm going to let it dry. I'm going to let it set for about 20 minutes. 20 minutes. So after the 20 minutes, I'm going to come back and start applying the sealer. This is sealer, but I'm going to start applying a tinted sealer, which is from PPG. This one, it's almost exactly as the car paint. It's almost exactly. The only thing it's helping me, this thing is helping me to do, is that not to waste that much paint. That's going to cover everything up. Then I'll come back, I'll start applying the actual paint of the car, and it'll help me cover a lot quicker than wasting a lot of paint. All right, I'll show you what I'm going to do. Again, guys, this is not the paint. This is just the sealer. What's gonna do? It's gonna get me as close as possible to the color of the car. That's all I'm trying to do, so that I don't waste a lot of material on the car. So all I'm gonna do is just give it one coat. That should do it, and start applying the paint. There it is, this first coat of sealer, and the only coat of sealer has been applied already. Now I'm just going to wait 15 minutes for it to dry, come back, start applying the actual paint. All right, let's just wait that 15 minutes, we'll come back. And there's the paint, guys. If you guys are wondering what color of paint it is, right there. Okay, now this one's from the Toyota, and it's the brand new sand color. I believe it's called sand color. I'm not too sure, but it's a real nice color that the Toyota came out. And that color, it's gonna go right there. This style line that it's here, it's gonna go a different color. I'm gonna show you how to do that. I'm gonna show you what you need to do to tape it up in order to apply the other layers of paint. There it is. This is a 3 coats of base. Now I'm gonna let it dry for about 20 minutes. I'm gonna paint this line that it has to be like a tan color. So I'm just gonna let it dry so I can tape that up and paint it down before I start applying the clear. All right, let's just wait that 20 minutes and I'll bring you back. Now for the style line that it's gonna have, I'm gonna use my mini gun. This is the Italco Mini Shine. I'm gonna be using this one in order to do the style line. All right, so let me just mix up the paint and get it ready. There it is. The lines are ready. So it's time for the clear. Let's just get started with the clear, finish it up. This is the clear I'm going to be using. It's a low gloss clear. The customer doesn't want it shiny, so it's a semi-gloss. All right, let's just get started. Start applying it. There it is, guys. After 3 coats of that semi-gloss clear, it looks shiny right now, but it's gonna end up as a semi-gloss. So I'll show it to you out in the sun once it's dry, once I unmask it and everything. But came out real nice that it came out. So I'm gonna be float coating this 37 Pontiac. The reason I'm doing this is because I don't know if you can tell, there's a couple of little dirt nibs here and there that appeared. So the way you can fix this is just buffing it out, smooth it down, sand it down with 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 and buff it. The thing is that this is a semi-gloss clear. The customer does not want it glossy. So in order to fix this, I need to float coat it. What float coating means, I need to sand it down. I'm going to sand it down with 600 and apply another layer of clear. That's going to eliminate all these little dirt nibs, and it's going to give you a real nice finish. So let me show you how it's done, and hope you enjoy the video. Another reason I'm doing this, guys, is because I forgot to remove these parts when I was painting the car, and it's bare metal underneath. So I need to spray some paint into this. I need to put some self-etching primer and some paint. So I'm gonna fix those areas too on both sides, and that'll help me out with the float coat. The things I'm using to sand the car down is my Hutchins Jitterbug, I believe it's called. This one's is directly with water. Okay, I have a bucket of water. So once the sanding, you press this, the DA is gonna start. It's gonna start throwing some water, and that's gonna help me lubricate the sandpaper, and it's gonna give me a smoother finish. You can use this for sanding the car when you're gonna buff it. So you can use this also. I'll leave the information as to where I got this, but it's a real good tool. And I'm also using 600 grit right there. There's a product. It's from Norton, and this is a Velcro style sandpaper, which I need Velcro because the sandpaper is going to get wet. If it's a sticky sandpaper, it's not going to work. So Velcro sandpaper, it's a lot better for these type of applications. Alright, guys, I got my sandpaper. I got everything ready. Let me start sanding it, putting some water into it so that you can see how this machine works. There it is. You can see how quick this machine works. All these little things right there are dirt nibs, which you can buff them out, but I can in this car. So I'm gonna continue doing this. Just gonna do the entire car and have it ready for that float coat. So I'll bring you back once the entire car is sanded. I'm gonna keep on doing the same thing I'm doing, just do the entire car. All right, I'll bring you back once the entire car is sanded. And there it is. After a couple of hours of sanding, everything's sanded. So now I'm just gonna clean it up, cover everything up, and start the float coat. All right, so let me cover everything up. I'll bring you back whenever I'm gonna shoot the clear. There it is, guys. Everything has been masked off. It's time to go for that float coat. Now, the only place I'm gonna put paint, it's right there. This is where I forgot to take those little parts off. I'm gonna add a little bit of paint there, and we'll be good for that float coat. All right, so let's just get started. Mix the paint, mix the clear. Now, if you guys don't know what kind of clear I'm using, let me show you. It's this. It's a semi-gloss clear from Eurochem. So that's what I'm going to be using. Okay. For the paint that I'm going to spray on those little areas, I'm going to be using my Talco Mini Shine right there. And for the clear coat, I'm going to be using my LS400 Intec with a 1.4 tip. Let's just get the mixing the paint, mixing the clear, start shooting. Again, guys, let me explain a little bit as to why I'm doing a flow coat on this car. The reason is that this customer doesn't want it glossy. It's a semi-gloss clear. I got little dirt nips here and there, which could have been taken care of with the buffing. The thing is that I cannot buff this car because of the semi-gloss. If I buff it, it's going to come out shiny, and the customer does not want that. So my next step is just to flow coat the entire car. Take those little dirt nibs out, which I did with the 600. I'm just going to flow coat it. It'll be like if you buffed it. Now, you can do this if you don't want to buff the car. You can resand the whole car with 600, put another layer or two of clear, and you'll have the car like if you buffed it. But it's up to you. There it is. Perfect. Now, all I'm going to do is just wait for it to dry for about 10 minutes and start flow coating. Alright, I already mixed my clear. It's already in the gun, so we're good to go. Before the flow coat, I'm going to get a tack rag, just clean everything up, make sure it's dust free. Start applying. There it is. This is after 2 coats of clear. It looks glossy now, but it's gonna end up looking as a semi-gloss. But everything turned out nice. All the little dirt nibs are gone. And that's it. That is it. This is how you flow coat a car, guys. Now, if it's done on a super glossy car, the results are going to be tremendous, guys. I do recommend it if you don't want to buff the car. All right. But there it is.